from Group 5 from Class 1 CC today about to discuss about VioCell Database. First, I would like to introduce ourselves. My name is Revino Redison.
My name is Ahmad Naufal Fadilah.
My name is Araduka Mandarmawan.
Okay, let's get into the topic. First, system analysis. Database is an organized collection of structured information or data typically stored electronically in computer system. In this project, we make a database based on the title using Microsoft SQL Server, which SQL itself stands for System Query Language. The title of our project is VioCell. VioCell is a database about the management process in cell phone counter. It is contained of some components of customer info, employee info, item info, and sales. This is the entity relationship diagram of our SQL project. First, we got the entity of item, which has the primary key of item ID that connects to item info, which called detail in a one-to-one relation. Item info has the primary key of item info ID, and item info has the foreign key of item ID from item. Second, item connects to the entity customer. Customers have cust ID as the primary key. The relationship of the item and customer is one to many. Customer has the connection to customer info. The relationship is one to one. Customer info has the primary key cust info ID and foreign key of cust ID from customer. Customer also connects to employee. Employee which has the primary key of ID as employee ID. Employee connects to employee info, which has the primary key of info ID and the foreign key ID from employee. Employee and employee info is one-to-one relationship, and employee to customer is one to many. Employee also connects to sales, which connects as a relationship to one to many. Sales have the primary key of sales ID and the foreign key of emp ID, item ID, cust ID from customer, employee, and item. This is the database diagram. The database which contains the tables. Customer has 2 items, 2 data. Customer info has 5 data. Sales have 6 data. Item has 3 data. Info has 3 data. Employee info has 6 data. Employee has 2 data.
Customer and customer info table. So the customer table is the field name is cust ID and cust name. Uh, each table has its own data type and width and their own description. For customer info table, uh, we also have the field of name, the data type, the width, and the description. The field of name, it has the ID, the cust ID, the cust contrast, the cust contact, and the cust address, the cust gender, and and below at the right, it's the validation required and the method use validation table. Employee and employee info table. The one in the left is the employee table, and the one in the right is the employee info table. It's the same. It's almost the same as the customer ID and custom info table. Item and item info table is also the same as the rest of the others.
This is the sales tables. In this sales tables, we add 6 data. There is sales ID, employee ID, item ID, cost ID, start date, due date. along with the validation required of the data. Next, this is the procedure. This is the procedure that we met in the VioCell database. We add 3 procedures to each tables. There is insert data, update data, and delete data, and a total of 21 procedure in this database. In this query, there is 2 examples of procedure, namely as procedure insert customer and procedure update customer. Next is trigger. Just like the procedure, we create 3 triggers for each table. There is insert data, update data, and delete data. Total of 21 triggers. On this slide, we can see one example of a trigger. There is a customer insert trigger, and on the right is an example of the data output from the trigger.